Welcome to AI Horror Stories. Prepare to be chilled. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell for daily doses of AI-generated fright. Alicia had a sweet, beautiful adopted son. Little did she know, her angel was a werewolf. And not just any werewolf, the son of the alpha. What will she do? And what about the alpha? I was driving peacefully through the narrow roads between the dense forests. I should not enjoy this as much as I do, because I am soon going to be leaving this place. But you can't help but feel serenity in the wild. My community residency ends, and I can soon become the senior surgeon I have always dreamed of being in the big cities. My parents can't be any more proud, and I can't be more excited. I am soon going to fulfill all my dreams. I am going to send my parents on a world tour, save lives, and just live a simple, busy life. I was thinking of all of these things when I saw a car parked at the edge of the narrow road. I slowed down a bit to see a pregnant lady sitting by the tree. She looked as if she were in labor. I immediately parked my car and removed my first aid kit from my trunk with a few spare clothes I had. I also removed my thick hockey stick and pepper spray, just in case animals smelled her blood and came near us. I ran to her with these things and called the hospital for an emergency ambulance. There were not a lot of emergencies here, so Elle knew the ambulance would arrive soon, but we were quite far from the hospital, like really far. The roads here are very narrow, and fallen trees or animal crossings are an everyday problem. There was no shortcut too, and the ambulance couldn't be driven through the forest. I always pondered about why the people here rarely get sick. In the 2 months I have spent here, I have operated just twice. One was once an external government agent who got appendicitis, and another was a tourist who got attacked by an animal. I knelt beside her, laid my t-shirt under her, and wore my gloves to maintain at least some sanity, and said, "You are going to be fine. I am a surgeon. I have informed the hospital. Just hold on, the ambulance will be arriving soon." She cried in pain. I checked her and realized that the baby was already crowning. A lot of blood had been lost. The baby would lose a lot of blood and oxygen if the process is delayed, and even worse, both the mother and the fetus will undergo fetal distress. "Please, it's coming. Help, please," she shrieked. The child's forehead was almost visible now. This was the first free birth I had witnessed. I couldn't do anything, I had no equipment. But I couldn't let that happen. I was a surgeon, goddammit. I removed the scalpel from my first aid kit, dipped it into the alcohol container, and made an incision. The mother shrieked in pain even more. Blood gushed out rapidly, and the baby was out. I checked the exact time on my wristwatch, 16:50. It said, I cut the umbilical cord with a pair of scissors and pat its back. It started crying. She looked at the child, smiled, and lost consciousness. I freaked out. I laid the baby on a jacket gently and checked her pulse, which felt weak, too weak. I started performing CPR on her. 28, 29, 30, and 2 breaths. I must have done 2 rounds. When I heard leaves rustling, I saw beside me was huge, black wolf. It was at least 3 feet tall from the ground where I was sitting, and its length could be anywhere between 7 to 8 feet. It was the tallest wolf I have ever seen, though I have seen animals in zoos, national parks, and sanctuaries. It stood near the baby and was sniffing it. As soon as it saw me, looking at it, it started growling. It looked at the mother and growled even more. I don't know where I got the strength or courage, but I stood up quickly, reached for the thick hockey stick, and held it high up, trying to scare it away. It stopped growling and stood there. I went, trying to be loud, and it just looked at me as if I was some idiot. It didn't seem scared and gracefully walked towards the forest. I ran back to the mother to check her pulse, and there was none. I checked the time, 1700 hours, and she had no pulse for the last 10 minutes now. Statistically speaking, her chances of being revived now are pretty low. But saw the little wonder lying and crying. I remember how I had to read 5 thick-ass books to completely understand embryology, parturition, and other processes. I can't imagine how such a complex process can occur. So often, so well, I can't. Every day, 385,000 children are born. Miracles. And here I was, stripping the miracle away from its mother. I continued the CPR. The ambulance arrived in a few minutes and I went along. It was a difficult day. I was patrolling around the grounds when I smelled blood. Immediately I moved toward the smell and realized it was human blood. Normally we don't have a lot of humans in our entire district. I remember our government head officer is a human, but he knows about us, his family, a wife and 3 kids, 2 sons and a little girl, the hotel owner, and its tourists, but the head manager is one of us, so he keeps it quiet. A writer who usually visits here at his bungalow whenever he is suffering from a block. A junior surgeon in our hospital, but is going to leave very soon. And my dead brother's girlfriend who knows about us. But then again, I just came back here last week after visiting Russia for a conference about Germany's recurring wolf population. Then I heard my brother died in a rogue attack. I came here to investigate just to find out that the rogues killed my brother after he declared the rogue who attacked a tourist, even though the tourist survived. My brother had developed a soft spot for humans ever since he fell in love with one. He said she was a tourist here who stayed back. But that doesn't give them a reason to kill our alpha. Without him, I have to become the alpha now, but I don't know, I have always believed in voting. He was the leader, I was the diplomat. I have never seen myself as the alpha. But the pack needs me right now. Until I don't find someone worthy enough to take his place, I will have to do the job. I was very close now to the blood, lots and lots of it. I stepped towards the road, to hear crying. I went closer to find a little baby crying. I sniffed it and it smelled like a hybrid. I have never seen a hybrid. He didn't smell like a human, neither completely a wolf. I licked it to smell it better despite the blood. Its scent smelled very, very faint, but I couldn't catch on its smell. I looked up and found 2 women, one of which was looking at me back. Both smelled like humans. The woman who was looking at me was performing CPR to the lady who had delivered the baby. The woman lying was dead. I could feel it in my instincts. I growled at her now, trying to scare her off, but she stood up and picked up a hockey stick from the ground. Really? A hockey stick? And she just stood there screaming a little. I really wanted to scoff at her dumbness, and I left the site. From the trees, I stood watching as she kept on with her CPR. Again and again. She was sweating and panting, but she didn't stop. As the ambulance arrived, she instructed the nurse and I realized that was the new surgeon. I left the site. The next day, my mom told me that my brother's girlfriend was dead, that she was pregnant with a human pup. I realized that the woman was my brother's girlfriend, and if I knew her, I would have helped in every way possible. But again, it was too late. I tried to inquire about the pup, but then gave up when I realized the surgeon had taken it to an orphanage in the city. My mother assured me that it was a human pup, and it didn't belong there. It would be better for it in the city with more options for the human world. Also, my pack was having conflicts and the rogue attacks didn't help. I had to focus on more important things. 5 years later, Alpha, can I take you out for ice cream? Mind-linked an alpha woman of our pack. We were having our 4th round table pack meeting. A member from each family was present here, as the 7 elected members of the round table sat discussing. My pack was now one of the very few wolf packs to have a semi-democratic administration. The conflicts have been solved. Our quality of life has improved. Everyone is heard and spoken for. Omegas have been honored more than ever, and the rogues are now our biggest allies. I am the elected alpha of my pack, and so I don't feel guilty about my position and privileges. If anything, my pack wants me here, and so I will be here. Miss Annabeth, please can we focus on the meeting before I throw you out? You can eat your ice cream there, with the wind of course. I mind-linked back. In these past 5 years, I have spent all my time for the pack, and now I feel the lack of my Luna. Though I don't show it, but I do feel the lack of a partner in my life. I have friends, but the comfort your mate can give you no one else. Can they? I want to snuggle in her neck and give lots of forehead kisses. I want to feed her to death so she is always happy and healthy. I want to love her and protect her from the world, but I have no one. I have a lot of women in my pack, but I can't think of them as anything more than a member of my pack. I have never felt anything special with them, and also never have they. All this attention that I'm getting right now is because I am the alpha now. Though there is nothing wrong in seeking luxury, I can't help but feel that even the women in my pack just obey me because I am the alpha. They are scared to disobey me, that's all. The meeting was finally over, and we have agreed on the strategic plan for the next year as a pack. I was walking towards my office in this big fort that we use as our conference office, archives building, offices, and other legal stuff when I smelled warm wood. It was very faint. Being a lupus alpha myself, I can immediately recognize another lupus. This was a lupus alpha, but its scent was very faint for some reason. Possibly a child? But lupus pheromones are still very strong even during birth. I followed to see a woman with a toddler sitting on the table, reading a book, and she was searching for something very aggressively in the files of our archives. Alpha, we might have a problem, my beta Ryan said, running down the hall. What problem? He looked towards the woman and said, She is the problem. His voice was low but may have echoed through the hall since the child looked towards us. He jumped down from the table and said, Ma, it's Dad, pointing towards me. The woman looked towards me and the child ran and hugged my knees. His eyes sparkled yellow as he imprinted on me, or recognizes an imprint from before. I looked up at the woman, who came closer to me, and saw the same confusion as mine. My wolf was suddenly alert as if he had seen his mate, and wanted to howl at the cuteness of the child, as if it was his. The woman smelled definitely like a human, but the pup was a lupus alpha. She called to him, Felix, what are you doing? She was pushed into the hug by the child, and as soon as I touched her I heard, Mate. She suddenly fainted in my arms, her head resting on my chest, hands on my shoulders, as I quickly held her back and waist. Without thinking twice, I picked her up and ran towards the hospital, leaving a pup and a beta to follow. It was Felix's 5th birthday. My little son was 5 years old now. I still remember the day when he was born. I have great regrets that I couldn't save his mother. If I had, he wouldn't have to bear the weight of being an adopted child. Oh, how will I ever tell him? But that meant I would no longer be his ma. I love him as dear as if he was mine, and he is such a beautiful child. I can't imagine I was gonna leave him after spending a week with him in the hospital. When he was better, I was gonna leave him in the orphanage, but as soon as I gave him to the sister, away from me, he started crying. And I just didn't have the heart to leave him there. Maybe it was the guilt of his mother's death, or maybe the fact that he and I had both gotten attached. He is my wonderful son. To work with a child is a great headache. My parents and I grew distant as they opposed the idea of me ruining my life with a child so early on. But they nonetheless like Felix and are always there for him. Everyone left after the party, all our friends, and my parents. My little angel spoke, Mama, where is Dad? Why doesn't he come to us? I am a good boy still, he doesn't want to see me. I almost teared up at my half-asleep son murmuring, I don't know, I say as, kiss his forehead. I head to the living room to clean up, and when I come back, I find a little wolf cub on my son's bed. Felix. I look for him. Felix, where is my son? I check the bathroom, the kitchen, the wardrobe, my bedroom, and the balcony, only to find the wolf cub wagging his tail behind me. I can't seem to understand where my son is and who and where this cub came from. I sat on the sofa crying and hurriedly calling the police, when the wolf cub, now whimpering, rolled on the sofa, and there it was, my son. I could not believe my eyes. Mama, why are you crying? Okay, I won't do it again, don't cry, he says as he kisses my cheek. I do understand her fear, her son suddenly turning out to be something else. She must be devastated. Now my wolf wants to protect her even more. He wants to hold her tight. He is fine here. You don't have to worry. Tears flow from her eyes. She holds my shirt tightly as she says, how can I not worry for him? He is my son, she says so desperately. It makes my wolf howl. Do you trust me? I lose it at myself. What am I even saying? I feel my wolf wait for the reply. Yes, I raise his brows. I feel goosebumps on the back of my neck. My wolf chants again, mate, mate, mate. I was so shocked to hear her say that. She did not even think twice before saying that. I feel like I never want to break her trust. But I must do what I must. I inject her the sedation that the healer gave me to make her sleep longer. He says she is weak, and if not well rested can faint again. She realized what I was doing and resisted my hold now. I hated to feel that. A few tears left her eyes again, as she screamed a little, Felix, she said very softly, before dropping back into sleep. Her hands and back were dropped in the air. The only thing keeping her up were my hands at her waist. I took a moment to look at her. Her long neck was on display as it fell, and I could see her collarbones clearly because of her square neck shirt. A drop of blood was visible on her neck where I injected her. My wolf felt the need to mark her at the site. I place a hand on her back and pick her head up. I feel her soft dark brown, her small back. I lightly licked the drop of blood from her neck, placed her head on my shoulder, and picked her knees to hold her. Her hands fall as well as her head, which makes my wolf howl in grief. I took her out of the hospital with my pup, who was holding my pants as we walked towards my car. My pup was crying but was stern and keen. He opened the door of the car as I put my mate and buckled her seatbelt. I put my pup in the back seat and immediately felt the lack of a child's seat. I searched my mate's bag to find her car keys. I went over to her car, removed the seat, and installed it in my car. I realized my actions have changed. I was acting like an alpha dad. But I am not complaining. As I drive, I accept that she is my mate and he is our pup, and I will do anything to protect them. Though they seem difficult and our family will be a little dysfunctional, it is mine. I look at my unconscious mate and my pup, whose sniffles I can hear as he looks out of the window. I said, "Pup, are you okay back there?" I say, worried. "Yes, Dad. But Mom will be fine, right?" He seems so mature. I nod. "Of course, she will be. Like I said, she is just sleeping. And I am here, right? I will take care of her now." "Yes, always Mom takes care of me. No one takes Mom's care," he says as he cries again. I feel his worry. "That's not true now. You take care of her, right?" He nods. "We are here, right? We will take care of her. We will pamper her a lot, okay?" He smiles and says, "Promise." "Of course." I wake up hearing laughter. I look around and find myself in a huge bed in a huge room. I see my luggage in a corner of the room on the side table. I see a glass of water. I get up and drink it. I remember the last thing. I remember Wolfshire. Now I want to vomit the water out. I look outside the balcony to see it's night. Since when have I been here? Was I drugged? Where is Felix? One opened the door to hear my son's laughter. I walk towards it, and I realize this is a big house, filled with books, couches, a pool, and a gym. I saw an elder woman, maybe in her 50s or 60s, tickling my son in what I think may be the living room. I walk towards them, a little relieved looking at their genuine laughter. Felix immediately looks at me and beams. I walk quickly towards the couch. My head jumps on me, and I hold him but tremble myself. I am stabled by a hand on my waist, and Felix immediately says, "Dad, look, Mom is awake, Dad." His dad is Wolfshire. I meet his eyes and he leans to kiss my son's forehead. He smiles looking at the man, then looks at me and kisses my cheek. I return a smile to my precious son. "Mom, look, I have another grandma." I smiled at him and the women lightly, just as I was going to say something. Wolfshire said, "What did I tell you, Felix? Your mom needs to rest, right? Come on, go play with your grandma." Go. I looked at him, as we both knew what he was trying to do. My innocent little son went on playing the woman. "Can we talk, Miss Pet Roma?" he whispered. "Why would I want to talk to a jerk like you, Mr. Wolfshire?" I hissed. He held my hand and dragged me to a big room. "Look, please, I don't want any trouble, just let me and my son go." I stared at him now. "You are not kidnapped, Miss Pet Roma. You can leave any moment you'd like." That was all I needed to turn and walk out of the door. "But don't you want to know the truth about your son? What he is, and why he is?" When I said I understood you, I meant it. "I know why you are here." "What do you know?" "More than you, for sure." I moved closer to him and looked him in the eye. "Tell me. Only if it were that easy. You see, I need to trust you to tell you anything, and you will need to trust me for the time being." He smirked. "Ha! I remember what happened the last time I trusted you." I touched my neck as I said that. "But, really, what do you think I can do? I am just a mother who is worried for her child. If I tell the world that werewolves are real, then I don't think anyone would believe me." "I see you're not completely clueless, are you? Well, then you may know it's not just my trust you need to earn, but my whole pack's. And then again, trust you." I frowned at his statement but said, "Your pack. I am the alpha of this pack." "Alpha, like as in the leader?" "Yeah." "I really doubt your pack's ability to choose a sane leader." He raised an eyebrow. "Ouch," he said. "How do I know you're not fooling me? Why would I want to unnecessary trouble in my life? I would have long gotten rid of you if it weren't for your deep bond with our pup." "Wait a minute, our pup? I am sorry if you haven't noticed." Felix calls me Dad. Felix? He shouts Felix's name, and immediately my son replies, "Yes, Dad." He smirks. "Now please excuse me, I want to spend some quality time with my son. In the meantime, you can look around, since I don't think you are planning to leave anytime soon." I stood there speechless. "Jerk," I said in my mind. I somehow managed to keep them with me. I can't imagine the horror of my mate rejecting me, though I haven't told her yet. I want her to trust me more and be familiar with our way of life. I want to tell her as soon as possible. It's night, Mom left early, and Alicia spent the whole day looking around the house. Then she picked a book off my shelves and started reading it. When my pup saw her reading, he got his children's book out and started reading on her lap. They both fell asleep. Felix hugged her as she stirred in sleep. "You will grow up to become one possessive alpha." I look at her face and feel the urge to feed her well. She had been weak since the morning and I wanted her to be healthy. I asked Aunt Rasha to leave and decided to cook simple chicken soup for them. I cut some fruits for them and leave them to chill in the refrigerator. I see the pup come to the kitchen smelling the cooked soup, and we silently make it while Mama sleeps. He is such a cute child. I am so proud that Alicia has raised him so well. I wish I had been there with them earlier. I deeply regret not paying attention to him back then. Alicia woke up, and we all had dinner silently as Felix was all sleepy now and so was she. He slept on the table and I picked him up to take him to bed. All the while Alicia silently watched me. I lay him on my bed, and Alicia frowned and said, "What are you doing?" "What?" "Look, Felix will sleep with me." "Okay. Then you can also crash on this bed too." "What are you crazy? Why would?" "What do you mean? You wanted to sleep with Felix?" "No, I just want to make sure of my son's safety." "Darling, I am the alpha. No one dares to break into my house." I sound almost smug. "No, from you." I stood there speechless. What have I done to make her feel threatened, except for maybe one thing? The rest I have done is just take care of them. "Look, I don't know what you were trying to imply, but Felix will sleep here until his room is completely made. You can sleep on the couch if you'd like," I say with a hint of anger and mock her at the end. "Fine," she says as she takes a pillow and lays on the couch. She then annoyed gets up and wakes Felix. They brush their teeth and change into their clothes that have now been arranged in my wardrobe. Alicia lays with Felix on the couch. I roll my eyes looking at her. "Good night, Junior," she says, kissing him on the cheek. "Good night, Mama," he replied. "Good night, Dad." Now that's my pup. "Felix? Why is he your dad? I never told you he is your dad. He hasn't either." "Why do you call him your dad, Junior? He is not your dad." I listened to my pup's reply intently as I was curious about the same. "He smells good, Mama. Like trees, and he looks big and scary. That's why I called him Dad. He also takes care of you well, so of course he's my dad." "Baby, there are many people who smell good, look big and scary, and can take care of me. Why are they not your dad?" "He is not your dad, Junior." Alicia says I feel hurt, listening to her words. But before I could speak, "Why do I not have a dad? Do you not want me to have a dad, Mama? Have I been a bad boy ever to you? Do you not like me?" My pup's broken voice hurts me even more as he runs to me. I pick him up and hug him tightly. I look at Alicia, who looks at us teary-eyed. She is trying hard to prevent her tears, to become a good mother, to raise a pup. I see her sincerity. I feel even more pulled towards her. My wolf is so proud of his Luna. My son was crying in his uncle's arms as I was sitting on the couch. Volk looked up at me and said, "No, Junior, your mama isn't mad at you, nor are you a bad boy. She is just worried for you." To my surprise, he defends me. He picks him up and brings him on the couch beside me. My little son looks at us. "She meant to say that there are other big scary men who smell good or may act as if they are your friend or want to be. Never trust them, okay? They may hurt you or they may even not, but your mom and I want you to be safe, always. So she is trying to warn you." Felix looks at me, and I am shocked at the jerk. I nod my head for Felix, and he stops crying. "I will not talk to them, Mama," he says, looking at me. "But I want a dad. Will you be my dad?" he says to Volk. I gasp, and Volk looks at me before hugging Felix. "Of course," I will be your dad. Heck, I am your dad. He hugs him again and kisses his forehead. Mama, he will be my dad. I love my new dad. He hugs Volk. And suddenly I find Volk hugging both of us tightly. Before I could say a word, he realized what he was doing, left us awkwardly sat on the bed, and said, "It's quite late, puppy. Let's sleep," and switched the lights off. I fall asleep with Felix beside me. I don't remember how long had it been since I slept, but suddenly I felt someone turn me. The room was still dark, and I could not make out the face of the person. I was almost gonna freak out, but I heard Felix say, "Dad, puppy, let's not wake Mama. Come on now, hold her." I feel Felix's tiny hands around me as Volk lifts me with Felix. I wanted to silently see what he was going to do, so I pretended to sleep. He puts me on the bed gently and says, "Your mom will get a sore neck if she sleeps on the sofa. Was she always this rigid?" Felix rolls on the big bed, giggling. I feel Volk putting a blanket on us and slips in it. "I can sleep with my mama and dad, yay," my son says softly. I have never seen him so excited to sleep with someone. "Of course, anything for you, puppy. Now let's sleep before we wake your mama." And that's how we ended up sleeping on the same bed. I woke up and saw Volk wasn't there. I searched the entire house, and I couldn't find him. I saw a woman working in the kitchen. I smiled at her and asked, "Who are you?" "Oh, forgive me, my Luna. I am Ruth Larabing. I work for Alpha Volk." "Tell me, my Luna, do you and puppy like pancakes?" "There is nothing to be forgiven. My name is Alicia, not Luna." "It's nice to meet you, Aunt Ruth." "Lord, that is exactly what Alpha Volk calls me to, Luna. He is gone to the fort for work." "Again, Luna? I guess she wants to call me with a pet name?" "Yes, Aunt Ruth, Felix, and I both enjoy pancakes." I smile and leave to freshen up. I find Felix awake. I bathe him, get ready myself too. While eating breakfast, I ask Aunt Ruth, "Aunt, if you call Volk Wolfshear your alpha, does that mean you are a wolf too?" "Of course, my darling, I am. And I know you are not. And this little angel is. He has some strong genes, I must tell you, though I can't smell his lupus like I could smell Volk's when he was his age. But he has the same Wolfshear eyes." "You knew him since then?" "Of course. I used to work in the fort, which was the Alpha's palace. But things have changed since Volk is our new Alpha. He has stripped away his power but made the lives of our pack mates better. I am very proud of him. You should visit fort, it's beautiful. And the library will solve all your problems." "I have already scanned the library. How can I solve my problems with such a small library?" "Small? Oh, you must have not visited our library, for us wolves. But they won't allow me. I am not a wolf." "They will, darling." They did. No one stopped suddenly. It's been a week since we have been living with Volk. He is a jerk. Every day he gets me flowers after returning from work. He has positively tried all sorts of flirting techniques and follows me like a lost pup. It's annoying, but Felix is really happy. He waits every day for Volk to come home after work, and they both run, jump, and swim for hours, until it's dinner time. Every day, both of them want me to read a book to them as they sleep. Felix even went to work with Volk one day. He told me about how there were a lot of people that called his dad Alpha, which meant leader. Volk has been slowly explaining to Felix the ways of the werewolves, for which I am grateful. And of course, every day I sleep on the couch and end up on the bed. One thing I am sure of is that Volk isn't a bad guy. He is overly affectionate for some reason, which makes me feel sus, but he means no harm. And he loves pampering Felix. My research has been going steady. I now know all about wolf cubs, their upbringing, the problems, and their diseases. I also know some about wolf mating and heat and rut cycles. It's interesting to know how these creatures have been hidden in plain sight. How they have created a whole global community silently and no one has a clue. As for Felix's case, I realized that he was a hybrid since his wolf hadn't been active since his birth. I had done so many tests and given him so many vaccines, and never once has anything unusual been caught in my child. I still don't understand it yet and don't have enough material on hybrids, since interracial mating is quite stigmatized. All I can say is my son is very special. I was happily driving home after a long day of work. I stopped to buy flowers for my mate. These are my little courting gifts for her. Even though she doesn't understand or pretends not to, I still like to get her flowers. She has been completely engrossed in reading all sorts of material about wolves. She is such a good mother and makes me want to spoil her. She accepts my flowers while acting all annoyed. She is so stubborn. And my son, he is such a golden retriever. He is the cutest thing in the world. Every day we play for hours until he is all tired. I am so proud of his knowledge and moral base which my beautiful mate has molded. He will become twice the leader I ever was. I took him to work one day, he met everyone with confidence, and he never spoke loudly or misbehaved in any sort of way. Everyone in the meeting was impressed by him, and I made sure they knew that Alicia was the reason behind it. No human living in our community has ever been as respected as Alicia is now, and I am not the reason behind it. Though they have started to consider her as their Luna, her sweet and resourceful nature is the reason. The way she walked excludes confidence. Her keen knowledge of things makes her so sharp, and her curiosity and sweet innocence make her the perfect Luna. My Luna. I was smiling as I hummed a song. I wonder if would Felix be mad since I am late today and it's almost night. Would Alicia be waiting for me? Would she be worried? That's when I was mind-linked by my beta. Alpha, we have a problem. Tell me. It's Luna. I stopped my car in an instant. Worry filled my thoughts as I said, "What about my mate? She is nowhere to be found. Her car gas has been removed from your garage too." What? Did she leave me? No, it can't happen. She just can't leave me. I am Felix's dad and her Alpha. She has no reason to leave. She would not. She must have been driving around the town. You see, Alpha, I thought of that too, so I checked with the locator you had installed in her car, and we found her car 4 hours away from the town center in the middle of the forest. She was trying to leave. I feel hurt, betrayed, I feel angry. Is Felix with her? Stay there with her, send me the location. I am coming. That's the problem. We haven't found her. What? Is she not in the car? Alpha, the car looks so disheveled that it doesn't look anything like a functional car. The windows and glass are broken, the bonnet is crashed into a tree, the tires are punctured, the color is all scratched away, the roof is broken, 2 doors are broken, and all the rest are dented severely. The floor of the car is also broken. It was before. It burnt completely, we found it. There was only one answer, rogues. But why would they attack her so desperately? What even worried me was finding my mate and pup. Rogues have always been known for killing, raping, eating alive, burning bones, and brutal physical abuse of their victims. What if Alicia and Felix are already? No. I drive to the location in 2 hours somehow, only to find the horrific state in which the car. My beta eyed confused, we don't have any clue how to find them. Alicia doesn't have a smell, and Felix's smell is too weak. Alicia doesn't even know about rogues and our history. Where would they be? Soon the whole pack knows that their Luna is lost, and all Alphas, Beta, and even the worried Omega start searching for them. My anger toward her is completely washed away with worry. Each patch of the forest is being searched. Omega helps me search the town center, checking each house and basement. I am so grateful for my pack. I go to each ally rogue group and ask for their help too. It's already night, and if we don't find them now, I may never be able to find them ever. Heck, I am supposed to be their Alpha. I was returning my book to the library and finding a book specifically about hybrids. When I saw a book on humans and wolves, it said, "Humans have always been wolves' enemies. These lowly creatures think that they are on the top of the world. They breed like rabid animals and increase their populations. They cut trees and believe that the world works for them. They are greedy and have no care about anything but their race. That's why we wolves have always hated them and always won in showing them their place. Whenever they have tried to infiltrate our borders, we have killed them, ripped their heads, and buried them in their ground. We have burnt them alive, and that was what I needed to read before. I slammed the book shut and put it back. Of course, this pack will never do such a thing to me and Felix. They are all so sweet. Just yesterday, a little girl gave me a flower. They all call me Luna. I know its meaning now. And I have Volk. His genuine care for Felix is pretty evident in his actions. I realized he acts like Wolf's dad. I drive to get my son. He is with Volk's mother back at home. I reach home and find Felix sleeping. I sit on the couch and say, Aunt Ruth was saying we have a few old albums of Volk around here somewhere. Could you tell me where? Felix and are both curious. I get why Felix is curious, but why are you curious? She asks. I don't have an answer to that. I have only known him for a week. But it feels like I have known forever. I just look down. Look, Alicia, if you are not interested in him, please don't give him the wrong idea. I would suggest you to maintain some distance around him. And start leaving Felix alone with him too. I frown at her, but I get I should maintain distance from Volk. Yeah, and he and Felix are always playing around alone, just the two of them for hours. No, I mean for a day or two. Live with me, and let them be alone. They will need to whenever you leave. I am not gonna leave without Felix. Felix belongs here with us. Not there with those uncivilized humans. What? Oh, so now he belongs with you? What about when you abandoned him when he was born? You were ready to leave him with uncivilized humans then? Was he not your grandson then? He was almost going to end up in an orphanage when he had a whole family here. Where were you then? I have raised my son till now. I can raise him forward too. He is not your son, she says. I lost it. Yes, he is. I am his sole guardian. Don't you dare tell me otherwise when you have done nothing for him? Nothing but leave him and mislead your son. Do I not know about your ancient mindset? Humans are lowly. I pick my son up from the couch and pack my bags and get ready to leave. Where are you going, girl? Volk will not like this a bit. Why would he mind if two lowly creatures left? I say as I step out of the door. I put Felix at the back and buckled him to his seat. I drive off to Fort. I park my car beside the fort. I cry frustrated and angry. Should I inform him we are leaving? No. What if he doesn't let us? Felix will be sad if we leave. I sat there thinking for a few minutes before driving off at the thought, why would he care? I drive for 3 hours now, kinda glad that Felix is still asleep. That's when I suddenly stop as a deer passes in front of us. I stop the car, and the brake squeals loudly. I pant as I see the deer, lying still on the road. No, I walked out of the car and saw the deer, and bleed. I turn around in disbelief and regret to see that my car bonnet is perfectly fine. I hadn't hit the deer. How did it die? I quickly run to the car and lock the doors. I sit in silence as I look around. I wake Felix up and he is immediately alert. Sniffing in his seat, he said, "Mom, look out," as I started driving. A big wolf climbed on the bonnet and started hitting the glass. In less than a second, I found my car completely covered with wolves scratching, barking, and howling. My little son turned into a wolf cub, and I picked him in my hands. They started banging, and my car started to deform. I sped the car without being able to look, and a few wolves fell. My car crashed into a tree and the airbags plopped out. A wolf now dug his nails into the roof, and the roof of my car punctured. He again dug his nail and extended the tear in the metal. He then put his entire arm inside, and his nail scratched my neck. I shouted in pain as Felix bit his hand and had to take it back. I hear him say, "Beautiful, she is beautiful and young." I feel disgusted as I have never before. I realized the car wouldn't be able to hold any longer. I opened the trunk and all the wolves started moving towards it and started to come in from there. As soon as I saw the forest, I opened the door and ran. Felix ran ahead of me. He was fast in his wolf form. I looked back to see 7 wolves follow me. I ran deep into the forest without thinking. I saw a big tree with a hollow trunk and swiftly hid inside it with Felix. I cover Felix with my jacket to cover his slight smell. I thank God. He is a hybrid and his smell, as I have heard, is like wood. We stayed there for a few minutes, and only once I was sure I came out. Felix was again in his normal state. His clothes were a little torn because of the change of his form. I covered him with my jacket, picked him up, and ran. I was running for a while now. I had no idea where I was going. I saw a little cave and sat in it, hoping that someone would find us, that Volk would find us. I searched the ground around the car. First, a packmate found a torn piece of cloth with a broken stem. I smell it and smell my pup. My wolf howls in grief. I move in the direction, carefully following bent grass, displaced moss, and broken twigs. I realize as I see at least 5 paw marks. I worry more and more about them. The paw marks moved forward, but a tree with a hollow trunk caught my attention. I should follow the paw marks, but my instincts told me to check the tree. Go and peek inside. It's too small for me to crawl in, but for Alicia, it may have done it. I could smell my pup despite the wood. He must be in his wolf form. Oh, scared must he be. What if Alicia put Felix here and distracted the wolves to run behind her? I instruct my entire team to follow the paw marks. Then I saw another piece of cloth. I ran in the direction. I realize I am running more into the roguelands. I run for a while and come across a cave. I can smell wood. I follow the smell into the cave as I see my little pup's torn clothes. I run even deeper, almost panicking at the idea of losing any one of them. That's when I hear whimpering. I see my mate holding my pup, who is shaking with fear in his wolf form. My mate is crying against the wall of the cave as 4 men are caving in towards her. I can tell from their clothes that they are rogues. My mate is quivering with fear as she is protectively hugging our pup. One of them was going to touch her. I jumped at him and he fell to the ground. I snap his neck as he dies. I stand in front of my mate, facing the men. My pup instantly recognizes me and howls. It is the first time I have heard his howl. Every wolf has a unique howl. This moment meant so much, but I can't let that distract me. My mate falls to the ground in relief. The other wolves have turned. I start fighting them, but they all come at me at once. I strike at them as they bite my shoulder, and blood is gushing out. I kill him by biting his neck as he bleeds to death. The other one runs at the sight, and I kill the one as I break his femur bone. I go to my mate. I lick her tears and smell her sweat. I look at my pup, who has become a human again. I lick his face as he hugs me, crying. I look at their disheveled state. I remember that Alicia wanted to leave, so she was rushing. I nug her to get on my back, and she picked Felix and climbed on my back. He leaned forward and grabbed my fur. It hurt, but not as much as I remember she was trying to leave. I run and make it to my car. I put them inside. She sits in the car and I change. I come back and bang the door shut. I start my car and start driving towards the border of the town. I was so still shaking with fear. I was sitting in the car with Felix, trying to calm him down. Shoo, it's okay, baby. Dad is here now. We are okay. He was wrapped in my jacket and he was naked underneath. When suddenly Volk came inside the car, banged the door shut and just started driving. Felix calmed down a bit, but he was still sniffing. I could just tell Volk was mad. I mean, he caught me leaving without telling him, but still, he could have asked, "And are you okay?" I looked at him and remembered his shoulder was bleeding, and we were not heading toward town but away from it. I look at him as he is speeding. We had been driving for an hour now. I just couldn't stop myself now. I said, "Where are we going?" "Town border." "What? Why?" "I thought we were going home or to a safe house or at least a hospital, anywhere but that." "You tell me, you were the one trying to leave without even informing me. Driving with Felix at such a speed in the middle of the forest. It may have been very urgent, right? So I am dropping you." "Please stop," I say. "Why? Why would he stop?" He was right, I was trying to leave very urgently. I didn't even tell him, or at least let Felix meet him. I was at fault here. But I don't want to leave, not right now. Heck, I didn't even want to leave earlier today. I was just so mad. So mad. "You're bleeding." He looks at me and looks back at the road. He says nothing. "It could get infected very severely. You need treatment." "Why do you care?" He says, "I realize it's the first time he has been mad at me. It's the first time he wasn't doing things according to me. It was the first time he was forcing something at me. It was the first time he wasn't smiling at me. It was the first time he asked me that question. And I had no answer to it." I looked at him trying to answer something as I saw him waiting too. But I couldn't answer him. That's what I thought. His words weren't mad now, they were sad, very sad. I started crying silently. Felix fell asleep in the back seat. I was silently crying, thinking it was still night. We drove for another hour or two. The sky was getting lighter. I could see the dense trees, the wind was cool, and birds were chirping. I was crying as we were getting closer and closer to the border. Why was I so sad for doing the thing always knew I was going to do? Why was I crying because I may never see the man beside me? Why was I crying as if I was leaving home to an alien land of strangers? I didn't know. I saw the border, the gate was visible now. I looked at it. My tears all dried under my eyes. and my nose was flowy because of the crying. He stops the car in front of the gate. He steps out of the car and moves towards my door. He opens it and signals me to come out. I hesitate as he holds my hand and pulls me out. He takes me towards the gate, and the bar raises, sensing our motion. Here, you can leave, take Felix with you, do whatever you want. All you need to do is cross that line and walk a few meters, and then a bus can take you to the city. He removes his wallet and hands me everything in it. A few hundred it must be. I tear up. Is he going to make me leave? Go. And you don't have to look at my face ever again. Heck, you don't even have to study about wolves. You can raise your child all you like. Go, he says, looking down. And if I don't want to go? I say, whispering. He looks at me and says, you were trying to leave, almost in tears. I was mad. Your mom told me I don't belong here, that Felix isn't my son, and to maintain distance from you. She was talking to me and I didn't like it one bit. And earlier I read a book about wolves killing, torturing humans who came in their W-. I say, crying, but I couldn't finish as he says, I would do that? He says as a tear slips down his eye. How will I know? I have only been here for a week and everything is so new to me, it's so overwhelming. He interrupts me again as he says, you are mate, for God's sake, Alicia. My wolfit. You are I see when I am around you. I want to always be around you. I won't always protect you and make you feel happy. I want to kiss you and pamper you and raise Felix with you. You are my pup's mom. You are my mate. Since the first time I have laid eyes on you, the wolf has been chanting mate, mate, mate. I have tried everything to impress you this week. It doesn't matter what to do, and neither do one. I am shocked at his words. Mate is a big thing here. Wolves die without their mates. Wolves fall sick when rejected. And he is telling me I am his mate? Well, that explains a lot for what it's worth, but I don't know what mom said or what shitty book you have read. But have one ever misbehaved with you? Ever made you mad? Have you ever been sad with me? If not, then why are you leaving me? Don't leave me, he says as he looks at me sobbing. I cry as I hug him tight. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I am not gonna leave you. He looks at me, wrapping his arms around me and sniffing my neck. Really? Why? Because you are Felix's dad, and I am this Pax Luna. And you my alpha. He looks at me and pulls me into a kiss. I gasp as I melt in. He kisses me gently, full of feelings, and I can feel his sincerity and his promises. I ask myself again, do I want this? Yes, I do.